Hello and welcome to Batman Builds. Today I am working on insulation. You can see down here, nearly every bay is done, except these two bays. So they're what I'm going to do now. Now the product I'm using to help me with this is called Gapotape. So it's a soft foam with adhesive silver tape on both sides. Now the reason I'm using this is PR insulation is very good, but it's actually stiff on the side, and anyone who's used it knows that you can cut it easily with a saw or a circular saw or a jigsaw, but the problem is trying to get exactly the right fit into the slot. You might get one side perfect, and you might get, another side okay, but usually what happens is you've got one gap here, you get an air gap around the side, and you've got in your building different fittings like these joist hangers and bolts in, like that end's got a bolt in. So the problem is you can't cut the insulation neatly round that, so you end up with little air gaps. And even though this is square, I built it square, the timber's got bows in it and little twists in it, so you can never get this edge to marry up perfectly to the gap. So what Gapotape does, quite cleverly, is you fit it onto the side, and it makes the side of the PIR effectively has some tolerance now. So anything it goes against becomes in contact with that all the way through. So what you do is you take your insulation board, you measure your gap, and you cut it 8mm smaller on each side. And then you wrap it in the Gapotape. So I've cut this 8mm shorter than that. Now I'm going to wrap it in the Gapotape here. So I've cut the insulation with circular saw halfway through, and then finished it off with that hand saw, which is the normal hand saw, but a bit stiffer. So you get this edge where you cut with the circular saw and then your hand saw, but still you're never going to marry it up 100% to the edge. So that's where Gapotape comes in. So, well, can't get closer. Squeeze it out so you can see. So, lay it on. I found that doing the short sides first is easier. Cut it to length. Make sure there's no dust on the insulation. Peel off the tape, and I found if you peel back at kind of 45, it comes off and doesn't leave any of the tape on there. Offer it up there, and on the short side you can just lay the tape flat and pull the tape flat, push it down, do the same on the other side, put it underneath. Now you don't stretch it too much, so you want it to be flat. And if you stretch it, you'll take out the back. You'll squash the foam. You don't want to squash the foam, you want it to still be the same kind of 10 mil, and each foam, each side is about 10 mil, but it compresses down. So that's why you cut it 8 mil shorter, 8 to 10 mil shorter than your actual gap. Do the other side. Also, what this does, it improves the actual gap. Oh, camera nearly fell down the hole. So what it does, it improves the gap that we've seen, actually gives the PIR an edge that is flexible and can take up the gap. But also, it makes installation actually easier. So normally when you're doing insulation, this kind of PIR stiff insulation, you end up kind of getting it almost right, and then you put it in the hole, and then you have to use your saw, and you're kind of trying to go down the side of the saw, you get dust everywhere. This cuts a lot of that out, so you do obviously get dust from cutting it, but you're only cutting it once, you're not cutting it and then trying to shave off edges and shave the sides down to make it fit. And with this floor, everything's the same size. So I was able actually, I'm going to do the long side now. Come around, go back around. So because this floor, I built this floor, and it's on 600 centres, so every gap is the same, apart from the middle section and the end sections. But it actually meant I could cut every piece in one go. So I didn't have to cut, measure. I just cut all the pieces in one go. So next step is now to try and do this so the camera can see. In fact, let me come this way. So although this part, you wouldn't normally be doing this part, you might think, oh, that's taking longer, but you're saving so much time and be able to cut every single piece in one go. And you'll see in a minute when we actually install it that it's easy to install. So, again, peel off a kind of 45 degrees, 90 degrees. Now, as we're doing the long edge, you want to just give it a bit of a pull, just so that it takes the crinkles out, but not too much that you're compressing the foam. You just put it a little bit, smooth tape down, put it a bit smooth, put it a bit smooth. See that way straightforward. Now, let's turn it this way so the camera can see. So again, pull the tape off, pull the backing off, just so there's no dust underneath. And now we're just gently folding over, smoothing out. So that's 3 sides done. I'll do the other side. So just while I'm doing this, I must also say thanks to Robin Clevitt. It's about the 3rd video I'm saying thanks to Robin Clevitt for well, showcasing this to start with, because I was actually dreading doing this installation. For that reason, I didn't want that gap down the side where you can get a temperature difference. You get cold air and warm air mixing, and then you get condensation. And this eliminates that, because it's pretty much, it seems pretty much airtight once you put it in. So, same again. So this time I'm spending doing this, for me, is worth it. And probably faster than the time you spend cutting and recutting and trying to fit in. And on an older building, if you're doing this in a loft, where nothing's square, and the rafters and the joists are all over the place, this would make it a lot easier. So again, I'm just stretching here. There we go. Pull the end down. Pull this down. Last side. So I don't know if this is a new verb, but I would say this board is now being Gapotaped. So I've kind of created a verb there. All right. Now, as I say, each bay pretty much is the same width, although the front and back bays are slightly different size because I've had to put a noggin in the back of my floor. So I have marked the backs with a B. That's the back one. So now, moment of truth. So normally you'd be shoving around, trying to cut and shave the board into place. But with this, you just give it a push down. Keep going down. That, I think, is pretty good. No shaving, no mess. It's pretty much airtight, that seam around there. That foam is now compressed against the side. Let's put the last one in. So this one also will show how it works around things like those bowls. So what I'll do now with this one, lay it in, but I'll lay that end in first, so I can kind of push it onto that bowl. same thing. Push it down. Push it down over that bolt. That is the floor installation done. So, have a look down there. So you can see here, look, that's pretty much, now I reckon that is as good as you can get insulation fitted into a timber building as you can get. So next I'll be putting the actual floor down, then I'll get onto the walls. Again, the walls are all the same distance, so I'll be able to cut all of my pieces the same size. Then I'll just wrap them in Gapotape and then put them in. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked Gapotape. And see you on the next video.